Hello, everyone. Welcome to a Thursday night live. This was supposed to be on YouTube, but YouTube is not allowing me to go live for some reason tonight. I don't know what the deal is, so I've moved to Facebook. Let's get that up and see what we've got going. So let's see if I can get this video up. YouTube was letting me put everything in, but when I hit the live button, it wouldn't go live. So let's see what we've got here. See if I can find the video so I can see who's on and see your comments. Okay, come on, Facebook. Just want you guys to know I'm still here. I don't know why. This is going to be, there it goes. There it goes. Okay, let's see. All right. Hello, Cynthia. Thanks for joining. I'm going to have to turn my fan down a little bit because it's blowing my paper here for some reason. All right. So this is the July product of the month, Begonia Bell. I ordered on Wednesday when it came out yesterday, and mine shipped this morning, so I should have it next week in hand. And this is an exclusive product for only $5 when you purchase $75 in my online store, and that is after you've used any coupons or Stampin' Rewards. So that is that. And that is only while supplies last. Now, last month's stamp set, the Wild Bunch, sold out before the end of the month. So you never know how that's going to go. If you want it, get it. Oh, thanks, Tracy. You're welcome. I was trying to get on YouTube, but, oh, thank you. The YouTube wouldn't let me press the live button. I kept pressing it and it wouldn't go live. So I thought, well, I can keep fussing with it, or I can just go live on Facebook and forget it and try to figure out what the problem is later. So I opted to figure it out later because I have a lot to do tonight. I don't have time to mess with technical issues. Let's just do what we need to do and get on with it. Okay, so tonight I'm focusing on Framed Violets. This is a new July online exclusive release. You can purchase just the stamp set, just the dies, or you can purchase them together as a bundle and save 10%. And that bundle number is 168194. Okay. The Framed Violets is part of the Violet Dreams suite, and we are going to be using this paper tonight. So let's go ahead. Okay. Why does everything want to be difficult? I do not know. And these are the patterns that you will find. You get two sheets each of 5 double-sided designs, and then you get die cuts. And you get 2 sheets of those die cuts. Okay, and that makes it a specialty paper. We will be using that this evening. In that same suite, there is some ribbon and there are some gems. I'm not using the gems tonight. The gems are pretty thick. They're called the adhesive backed blooms. They're pretty thick. Probably not really any thicker than a dimensional though. But I thought these, I would be using mine most likely on 3D projects. So they actually aren't that thick. They're less thick than I thought they were. They're pretty thin. So I don't think they're any thicker than a dimensional. So they're not going to add extra postage. It doesn't seem like, and they don't weigh very much at all. They're not heavy. All right, so before we get started, I'm going to show you a card we're not making tonight, but I did want to give you some additional inspiration. So this is the second card I made with this. And so we've got, this is the designer series paper. And then this is a flat, a quarter sheet of cardstock for the card base. And then it opens like this. And there you have it. This shows off both sides of the paper. And this card primarily focuses on the dies. This Sending Love sentiment is from the stamp set, and I've stamped the background with a stamp from the set, but these are all die cuts along with the paper. Okay, and then for my gems on this one, I used the, oh, what are those called? When you know, I can't remember the name of them now. Pearls of Beauty. I used Pearls of Beauty, and I used the white ones, and I colored them with my Highland Heather dark Stampin' Blend. Okay, and of course the gold striped mesh ribbon is the ribbon on that card. And we're going to be using this on the card we're making tonight. So I hope you like that. A little bit of an extra sample there. And I thought this one would work great for a wedding. Wishing you love and happiness that lasts a lifetime. Of course, that could be an anniversary. Could be whatever. Could be an engagement card for all that matter. Yes, I love this suite. Okay, so let's get started with the card we are making. And for this card, of course, I've used some different, I've merged some sets. I've mashed them up. Beautiful Motifs is where I'm getting the Wishing You Love and Happiness that lasts a lifetime. This particular stamp set is 10 pieces, photopolymer. It is on the last chance list. Okay, so while supplies last there, we'll be using the 26 to 28 in color butterflies. I'm using the Floral Spray 3D embossing folder. I also use that on the card I just showed you in the background. And then for the inside sentiment on this card, I'm using Celebrate New Beginnings from Springtime Scenes. I encourage you to look through what you have to find the appropriate sentiments. And for the sentiment label on this, I'm using the Everyday Arches, and I'm using the second to the smallest die. Okay, so now that we've covered all that, we're going to start with a basic white, thick basic white card base. This is 4 1/4 by 11, a half a sheet of cardstock. But this is how I like to do my landscape cards because they stand up nicely when you do them this way rather than having a card that folds like that. Okay, so we're going to do that. And I've got a piece of basic white that is 4 1/8. Yep, 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I've pre-embossed this with the Floral Spray 3D embossing folder. Hopefully you can see the depth in that. And we're going to add this to our card here. But before we can do that, we need to get some designer series paper. And I've got 3 strips here of the designer series paper. And these each are 1 inch by 6. You could just cut it at 5 1/8, but I prefer to just leave them a little bit longer. And the real reason these are at 6 right now is because originally I was thinking about doing this card like this, and so I would need those 6. But then I didn't like the way it looked, so I switched it to landscape and just use the same pieces. I already cut it at 6, so I'm not going to redo, and we'll just do it this way. So the easy way that I found to do this, I'm going to put this on at on my glass mat on my grid. This is 4 1/8, isn't it? Yep, 4 1/8. Okay, I'm going to set this right in here like this. I want the secret C in the center. So I'm just going to set that down. But before I really get that, I'm going to take a look at this. I'm going to set this at 1/4 of an inch here. And then I'm going to set this at 1/4 of an inch on my glass mat. And then I'll fill that in appropriately. Okay, and actually I think I want boop and boop. I want it to go like this. So I'm just going to take, and I'm not going to glue all the way to the bottom here, and I'm going to use liquid glue simply because I like to use liquid glue when I'm putting something down on a 3D embossing folder. Let's define the this may not be perfect because it is 4 1/8, and that's fine. If I'm a 1/16 of an inch off and anybody notices, I don't think it's going to matter. I just want to make this relatively even here, top and bottom, and I need to make sure I get that scooched over. That's the other thing with liquid glue. You can move it if you're not quite where you want to be. So now that is nice and solid where I want it. And then we'll put a little bit of liquid glue on the back here. Now, of course, you can use this card layout for any stamps you already have in your stash. Apparently I glued too far. I glued too far out, and it's gluing to my mat here. So let's go 1/4 of an inch down. Make sure that's lined up on the edge. I like to put it on the glass mat so that I know it's on the edge. And then if I line this up just right, I should be able to straighten that out. Just like so. And lay that down. And then I'll just put this one in the middle. About. Of course, I'm going to eyeball it. It may not be perfect. I need to make sure I get it over to the edge there. Okay. That looks pretty good to me. I'm going to give that a good press. I'm going to trim this off. And I'm going to use my other scissors so I don't get my good ones all gunky. Because I don't like that. And I wasn't quite as careful as I should have been, I guess. And I got my glue too far out. But the good news is, by doing that, I don't have to worry about re-gluing. Just give that a good burnish. And there we are. And let's get that off of my glass mat. I'm just going to take a little alcohol wipe and get that off. And then we're good. Okay, so that is the start of our card. And now we can add this to our card base. So let's go ahead and do that. Bring this back in. And again, because this is 3D embossed, I'm going to use liquid glue. and plenty of it to ensure that it sticks well. Let's go ahead and lay this down. And remember, this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, so we have a very narrow border. Okay, there we go. So that is the start of our card. Now let's go ahead and do some stamping. I'm going to bring in a piece of basic white, and we're going to take Secret C. Oh, and I need to cut this actually. I do need to cut this because I need to put it in my thing. I need to put it in my thing. So let's go. This will work. Let's do that. And then we're going to get our stamp positioner tool because I want to make sure that this is nice and dark. So I'm bringing that in. I've already got the large oval from the stamp set on there. And I'm just going to set this down in here. Now I added this chipboard and cardboard border on here to hold this in. They don't actually come with these borders, but this is going to help me reposition everything nicely. Okay, so we'll just ink that up in Secret C. I like to ink upside down when it's a large stamp like this. And then let's move this magnet so I'm not stamping on it. Stampin' Up! Recommends that you put your magnets close to your stamping to prevent the paper from moving. So I'm just going to give that a good press. And I'm going to go one more time on that just to darken it up. And there we go. And there we have it. Okay, nice and dark image. We're good to go. Let's set this out of the way so I don't get ink anywhere I don't want it. So we're done with the tool. Let's pick that up. Okay, there is a die for this in the set. And the one thing I want you to know about the die is it isn't symmetrical. So see how I put this one on here and it doesn't quite fit? And then if I rotate it, it'll slide into place perfectly. So you do have to have it in a specific way. So then I would take and run that through my die cut machine. And this is what I would then have. Okay, so I've got that. Now on that other piece of the paper, we need to do some other stamping. And so I'm going to take the large violet floral here. And we'll get the Secret C ink again. And you're going to need 2 of these if you're making this card like I did. So we're going to put 1 and 2. Okay. And then we're going to color these with Stampin' Blends. So let's go ahead and move this out of our way. And I've already pre-colored one of them, so you didn't have to watch me do two. But we're going to start with light and dark peaceful pine. That's what I use for the leaves. So I'm going to start with the light, and I'm going to use the bullet tip. And I'm going to barely touch these stems. Pressure is everything to stay in the lines on these. So we'll just color those stems. And very gently. You could tap, tap, tap along the line if that works better for you. I find that if I just barely brush, then I get what I need. So now we're going to go to the dark peaceful pine, and I'm going to flick in a little bit of dark there, and then I'm going to go and just go on the artist lines here for the veining in the leaf. And then I'll go back with the light peaceful pine and fill in the rest and blend it all in. Okay, so we're just going to give that a good blend. Careful at the edges so we don't go out. And then we'll do that on the second leaf. Okay. And again, we'll go back with our light. And blend this in. This particular image does have some open spaced edges, so I tend to fill those in with the ink. Okay, there we go. So we've got our greenery. And now for the violets themselves, I'm using the Hydrangea Hue Shimmer Brush. When you get these, there will be when they're brand new, you get this, they come with this little white piece, and you need to unscrew it right here and pull that white piece off, just like in your Wink of Stella glitter brush. Otherwise, you will be squeezing forever and never get any ink out. You have to prime it to get it going. Okay, so I've got the shimmer on there. Now I'm going to go ahead and put some shimmer on all of these and in the shadows where there would be shadows. Using the artist lines. And then I'm going to go back and gently fill that in. Still trying to get my shading. So we've got that. Okay. And then we'll go to the next one. I find I do better when I start in the center of the petal and then move left and right with the shape. Okay. And then finally we'll go back and we'll finish up this one. And hopefully you can see the shimmer that's going on along with the color. Okay, now I am going to go back because this first one now should be dry. I'm going to add in just a little bit more darkness here in the center. You don't have to do this. I just want that extra bit of darkness there. Okay. And then for the centers, I'm going to use some light Darling Duckling. And I'm just going to tap that in. Now this particular, the second one I did in Fresh Freesia, dark and light with the Peaceful Pine and the Darling Duckling. But I already colored that and cut it, so you didn't have to watch me do that. So we're going to go ahead and get the die for this one and then die cut this one out. And hopefully I did the right one, you guys, because, you know, it would be bad if I didn't. Then we'd have to watch me color a second one. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off because I'm going to use the mini. And I can save this for another project. I love violets, so there'll definitely be more cards coming with this set. Okay, so then we'll just put this into the mini machine, roll it through, and now we've got our pieces. Okay. Oh, now we've got, there's our violet. Here's our inside piece. We still have to do some stuff to that. Here is the Fresh Freesia one that I colored, and I put Wink of Stella over the top. And then finally you need that, oh, that one. I want to use that one. Actually, I cut a piece up I'd already used. Let's see how that's going to work. If that's going to show through or not. We'll find out here in a minute. I did not realize that I had cut on a piece that I had already stamped on. I hate that. Okay, well, we're just going to go with it and see how that works. Otherwise, we'll have to cut an arch. All right, so we're going to take the stamp that says, wishing you love and happiness that lasts a lifetime. And we're going to stamp this in Secret C on this arch. And I'm going to do it far to the right, as far to the right as I can. Okay, let me get this so it doesn't move. There we go. Silicone mat works great for a lot of things. All right, so let's put that down. Stamp that. I cut two of these in case I messed that up, but fortunately I did not. So that's what we have for that. All right, now we're ready to start putting this all together. I don't know why I had that hydrangea hue because we didn't, oh no, I do need this. That's why I had hydrangea hue, because I forgot to stamp on this. Okay, so we're going to take our hydrangea hue, and I need a scrap piece of paper, and we're going to take this textured stamp, and we're going to stamp it off. Yep, I want a real light background, and I'm going to stamp this over here. Oh, I forgot to stamp off. Oh well, let's see what it looks like this way. Man, it's okay. We're just going to go with it. Okay, now I've got this space in between. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to clean the stamp. And then I'm going to ink only this portion of the bottom. Because my, what am I doing? I did this totally wrong. Yep, I did. It's okay. It's going to go like this. So now we need to do this. I want just a little bit here. And so I'm only inking partially, and then I'll ink here. And that part in the center won't matter because that's going to be covered up with our flowers. Can't believe I forgot to stamp that off after I just said I was going to. Okay, so let's put this. This might be a little too bold. Oh, we're going to go with it. This is the idea here. So let's go ahead. I'm going to put a mini dimensional on these two florals. These three, actually. No, not this one. I don't want it on that one. Almost messed that up too. Okay. So we're just going to put a little bit of liquid glue here. And before I get too far, no, I'm not doing that with this one. I'm just going to glue this down flat. And this too. And then we'll lift these up. And we'll put this down. Kind of at an angle like that. Okay, got that. Now this one, we do want to take this, and actually I didn't do this on my other one, but I'm gonna do that on my sample, but I'm gonna do it on this one. I'm gonna cut these two apart, just so that they're a little more free-flowing and I can curl my leaf a little bit better here. So I'm just gonna get in here with my thumbnail, and I'm just gonna do the edges of those leaves, and I'm going to cut this one just a little bit more free-flowing as well. And then we'll just even that up like so, and that will allow me to curve that. And then for this one, we'll just curve this outside piece right there. Okay, so we've got that, and that's just going to make those stick up off the page a little bit. So we're going to take and put a little bit of a dimensional there. And I want a little bit more here. And then again, we'll do our flowers, but this time we're going to do all three. And then we'll add just a little bit of liquid glue down the center. And that's just going to add a little bit of life and interest to our flower. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can just stick this down and call it good. And then I'm going to take this flower and we're going to put that kind of like that. Oh, apparently I did not get that off of there. Okay, so there we go. Now, sorry, buddy, I'm busy. You're going to have to go ask Dad. Okay, so this now is just about, well, we're going to go ahead and add this to our card, and then I'll finish it up. It's not quite finished, but we're going to go ahead and put this on our card, and then we'll finish it. Okay, so we've got a card base here. We're going to put this down here like this, and our sentiment is going to tuck under here like this. And what I want to do is I want to bring this so that it goes between those two and still leave some white space here. And this is going to go down flat. So I'm just going to put some liquid glue on there. Bring this in like so. Okay, so we've got that. And then we'll add this over here to the left of it. And again, I'm going to put this down. No, I put this down. I'm putting this down with dimensionals. Normally I don't double pop, but I'm going to do it. There we go. Probably shouldn't have because I'm going to put a bow on here, but it's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. Okay, so now I'm just going to put this so it's just to the left of the word wishing and as straight as my eye will allow it to be. And we'll put that on. Okay, and then we have ribbon and embellishments to add, so let's go ahead and get our ribbon. Oh, and I should have pre-cut this so you didn't have to watch me do that, but it's okay. We're going to do it anyway. You'll get to see how I do this all the time. So what I like to do is get my length of ribbon that I think I'm going to need. I'll cut that off. And this is the gold striped mesh ribbon. Now this comes off pretty lacy, so I'm going to take my fingernail and I'm going to try and straighten that out a bit. And then I'm going to take my scissors, and this has 2 larger gold outside edges and 3 on the inside, and I'm going to try and cut up right beside the middle gold strand. And I find if I just hold on to each end and go slow, this ribbon cuts pretty easily. So let's cut this into 2. I tend not to like a larger or a wider ribbon, and I like to cut it in half. That does 2 things. Gives me double duty. I get twice as much ribbon for the same amount of money. And I get prettier bows. So now I could use just one of these, but for this particular card, because I'm envisioning it as a wedding card, I want to have some beautiful ribbon. So I'm going to take these and I'm going to wrap these around, Trying to make sure they don't twist on me. This top one did, so let's see if we can fix that. It twisted right there, so let's untwist that so I get a prettier bow. And then we'll tie this together. Now, if you can freehand these double bows, by all means do. I'm just not that good. Hence the bow maker. So then I'll just pull this in and tie it tight. Pull my loops apart. And now my ribbon, my bow is ready. Okay, so now we'll take some glue dots. And I like to use 2 for these heavier bows. I find they stick better. And I'll put one on and then I'll put one just to the right or left of it. Just to give it a little extra stability, we're going to put this right here. Trim our tails. And there is our bow. So the final thing that we need to add to this project is our in color butterflies. And I'm going to go ahead and use the Barely Blush ones, I think. I use the hydrangea hue on my, no, I'm just going to stick with hydrangea hue. I'm going to go with this. I'm going to put one over here, and I'll put a smaller one up here, and then I'll put another larger one down here. And when I'm happy with that, I like to take the end of my Take Your Pick tool and give those a good press to really burnish that glue dot behind them on. And then we're going to add our center. And because this was a wedding card for me, I took a piece of two-tone Secret Sea cardstock. I've got Celebrate New Beginnings from the Springtime Scenes. I used one of those violet stamps, and put that stamp, partially stamped it in the bottom, colored it with the Darling Duckling and Fresh Freesia combo. And then I'm going to add this to my Secret Sea. And my white piece is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. And my outside piece is 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. And then I'm just going to add this inside my card. And that's just going to dress up the inside a little more. And then for the envelope, I've taken the hydrangea hue Stampin' Blends and colored my floral. Okay, and that is a look at the framed Violet Suite, or the, what's it called? Violet Dreams Suite. There we go. So there you have it. I hope you like those. Sorry I couldn't be live on YouTube tonight, but like I say, until I get figured out how to go live again on there, I don't know. I might need to update my iOS or update YouTube or something. I don't know what, but we'll get it figured out. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining. If you're here in the United States, have a wonderful, happy 250th celebration for the 4th of July. And I will see you next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook. Thank you so much, everybody. You will find all of these items in my online store, and there is a link to shop on my Facebook business page. Thanks so much. Good night.